I hope you guys are having a great day. Just a couple of days ago, it was released in the Sony event that there was going to be another Final Fantasy game. So there's going to be Final Fantasy 16, which is super freaking exciting, you guys. I know that I've been waiting many years just to hear about another Final Fantasy game. Hearing about it now is just insanely awesome considering it's 2020. So I wasn't planning on doing this video. I was actually planning on doing another video, but since Final Fantasy 16 came out, my mind was blown, and I was just so excited to talk to you guys about it. So excited to talk to you guys about my thoughts about Final Fantasy 16 and some kind of like issues I've been seeing like people have against the game, which has been very interesting to me. But for now, I think I'm gonna go ahead and play you guys the trailer for those who have not seen it yet. I'm gonna play it for you guys here. So I'm gonna give you guys just kind of like my little analysis for the trailer, kind of what I think about it. Obviously, I watched the PS event, so I didn't like get my live reaction. But I'm excited to kind of show you guys what I'm thinking about, like kind of as we're going along here. So it starts off with the fire in somebody's eyes, and like it has to deal with this. I'm pretty sure whoever this guy is, who is kind of, he looks very similar to like he looks like a main character. It's obvious that there's something to do with fire. I think throughout this whole trailer, there has to deal with somebody being on fire later on in the trailer, and maybe like that's his new power or something. Maybe like summoning actually might happen like within somebody's body this time, which might be a little darker for Final Fantasy.
You all know the target. Shiva's dominant.
Alright, I'm gonna stop there too.
And only the dominant.
We all know the target. Shiva's dominant. My thought on that is, like, are we actually going back to, like, before Shiva? So maybe, like, obviously it's set in the Middle Ages, if you guys didn't know that, in medieval times. What he's saying is Shiva's dominant. So maybe Shiva's dominant is technically the first Shiva. This is the first Shiva that we've ever encountered, because there's more Shivas along the road, but like this might be the first, like we might be seeing the first, like a first Shiva.
How do we even know the girl will be among us?
Our kind do not question orders, we follow them.
In this scene, it's like very evident that there's some sort of like war, like obviously there's some sort of war happening. War chocobos? Like what? I don't know, like that to me is just so crazy.
Sergeant, let's summon their icon.
Icon? That thing's a bloody mountain.
I don't know what that was. That looked like freaking straight up like a Titan or something. Like that looked insane. Let's kind of think here. So like maybe, hear me out, since Yoshi P is now directing this whole thing, because obviously if you've played Final Fantasy 14, I can definitely tell that this is like his style of directing personally. I played through 14 for the most part. Maybe, just maybe, that was Titan. Quite literally, maybe he's taking some of the stuff from 14 and like putting it into 16. Maybe that was Titan fighting Shiva. Maybe we have Aeon battles. Kind of very similar to like Final Fantasy X, whenever Yuna went out on our pilgrimage and she fought against somebody else's Aeon. Like maybe it's like that, but like literal like war.
Our foe will not relinquish their mother crystal easily.
I love that dog.
This will be a bitter fight.
You should not be out of doors. We have discussed this. Come, Joshua. Your father will be expecting us.
I feel like Joshua is very similar to Noctis in a way. So I think that from Final Fantasy 15, I think he has some sort of power in him.
I am Joshua's shield. I'm sworn to protect him.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you not pledge your sword to our cause?
I really like that they show gameplay here because it looks, honestly, to me, very similar to Final Fantasy 15, which I actually kind of did like the gameplay for Final Fantasy 15, but I did like that they have the Marlboro fight, like, happening. I think that's really cool because that's typically a Final Fantasy thing.
What does it matter? It was the Dalmex who drove back the Crusaders in the Battle of the Twin Realms, was it not?
Without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we cannot defend our realm from the spread of the Blight.
So, I sent in the Dragoons. Imperial Vipers. Do they really mean to invade us?
Okay, I'm gonna stop right here. I'm thinking, like, this is kind of like how, almost kind of like how Final Fantasy started. Like, this is going all the way back in medieval times, so, like, maybe. I know, like, none of the worlds kind of, like, you know, in Final Fantasy you can really start anywhere you want, but, like, I think this kind of explains maybe some of the lore of Final Fantasy and, like, how everything started.
It's the Archduke's son.
Phoenix.
Stop there!
This part to me is probably the most prevalent because it shows Joshua, or whoever this kid's name is, having this power, and it's showing some sort of phoenix like come down, and I don't know if for some reason like power of the phoenix is like literally spreading throughout him and then he becomes a Freet. Like, I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm just speculating.
Second life on a fire. But that's impossible.
So this part is definitely,
The legacy of the crystals.
like, that's definitely a Free. So maybe like the legendary creatures or aeons or something granted these people powers, and then basically the people, like, they are intentionally maybe the summons. Like, I don't know. Like, that's kind of like I think that's my speculation, is that maybe these dominants or whatever made these people the current summons that are now. Like, maybe. I don't know. So, alright. So, Legacy of Crystals.
Has shaped our history. I'll kill you. If it's the last thing I do.
Okay. That definitely shows. Alright, I think. Yeah, that's the end of it. Okay, so obviously there's a time skip. Very similar to Final Fantasy 15 where there was a time skip. The box art is always absolutely freaking stunning. This is straight up giving me like Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 12 vibes, like the actual box artwork. If you look at the box art, it's obviously the Phoenix and Ffri kind of going at it. So I think that the dominant of Ffri might be the Phoenix. The summons, the Aeons, are battling the dominants. These are all just speculation. I'm nowhere near like any sort of analysis, like really truly like analysis, but these are just like the vibes that I'm getting since I'm very familiar with Final Fantasy games. And I also have a couple things to talk about. People who have been coming to me with comments about, you know, the game itself. After I watched the trailer with my husband, we were just, my husband was like, well, it feels like another boy band thing again. It feels like Final Fantasy 15 again, and where there's no girls, like where are all the girls? And like, I mean, I agree. At the same time, this is the first trailer of Final Fantasy 16. I'm sure that this isn't going to be the only trailer that we get from Square. Knowing Square, I feel like this was just kind of a trailer to get people interested in the game and saying, hey, we are actually releasing Final Fantasy 16. Maybe it was just trying to get people to notice, hey, we actually have a new Final Fantasy game. Another thing that people kind of had issues with was that it looks very similar to Game of Thrones, Skyrim, like Witcher vibes. I totally get it because it's based in medieval times, but at the same time, that shouldn't be something that we judge. Like, a lot of people thought like it wasn't going to be Final Fantasy-esque, but I really don't think so. Like, I very much see this as a Final Fantasy game. Not even knowing it was Final Fantasy, I knew it was a Final Fantasy game. Because if you really like look at it, it has like all of the like main things there. Like, you have the Marlboros, you have the you know, summons, you have Shiva, you have Ffri, and Titan. I think it's Titan. You also have, you know, Chocobos. You know, with the other things, like, it definitely felt like Final Fantasy 15 a little bit. Like, the gameplay looked like Final Fantasy 15 to me. I don't think that because it like has that vibe that it's not a Final Fantasy. It's definitely Final Fantasy-esque. To be honest with you, like, in my opinion, like, the guy kind of looks like Noctis, like at the end there, like with his time skip, if you will. So that's just kind of my general thoughts about Final Fantasy 16. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's kind of really short, and I really wasn't really planning on doing this video, but at the same time, like, I was just so hyped with Final Fantasy 16, and that Yoshi P is working on it, which is fabulous because Final Fantasy 14 is absolutely amazing and you all should play it. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more. Make sure to hit the notification bell to see when I upload. I will see you guys next time. See ya. Bye.